Hello Steelers, and welcome to another Bench Report Hobby update. This one might be quite short because, as the viewers in the UK will know, we are currently experiencing a heat wave here in September, which I'm not really complaining about, but the problem is it stopped me getting up into the war room very often because of the heat. Because I'm up in the loft, it's just absolutely boiling hot. And I just can't stay up here for very long, to be honest. Hopefully it's going to cool down soon enough, but when it does, it does. But that said, I have managed to get a couple of things painted. The first things were I got from Peter Pig some big men, British big men, and also leaders. The reason I got these, and I'm calling them big men and leaders, is because I put these on 1p pieces. So they're 19mm in diameter rather than 15mm in diameter for the other figures that I have. So I can just see them on the tabletop. And also what I've done as well is I rebased a load of other figures that I've got as well in the same manner, because I didn't have any Americans, I didn't have any other British from the other forces, any Japanese or anything like that, or the Romanians. Rebased like this. So I just basically sat down and just did a big job of rebasing all those, and I put labels on the bases of all of those as well, so I can tell exactly in the game straight away which big man it is, just because it makes it a lot easier really. The number on the base will be the number on the card, or indeed the number that is tied into in Chain of Command. Chain of Command's a bit easier because you only have a few men and it's pretty simple. You don't have it's not like an I Ain't Been Shotman where they are tied into a particular card. So I managed to get those done, so that was quite nice. It was nice to be able to get those signed off and you know, a line drawn under that really. I also made this has caused a little bit of a stir whenever I put them on the internet earlier this week, is some tennis courts for Singapore. Now there are tennis courts wherever the British are, basically. Singapore, being a colonial power, a colonial island, had tennis courts. Still does, of course, you know. And there were games of tennis played pre-war, 1930s, and into the early 40s as well. And these are, I've done these specifically for Mark Backhouse's mini campaign for Singapore, for what there was in the WSS magazine recently. And he had a couple of tennis courts on one of the maps, so I thought, well, I'll make them. These are dead easy to make. They're just made out of plastic card. I just used sand for the courts themselves. For that, I don't really know what the material is, but it's not sand, but it's kind of like a, you know, like a hardcore kind of gravel standing. And then just painted the lines on using a ruler basically. The chain link fences are the ones I bought a couple of weeks ago. You may remember I mentioned them in one of the previous hobby updates, and they're just they were just glued in around the side. I mean, they're not perfect pieces of art, but they will do for my uses. So I'm quite chuffed that they've turned out quite well, as they have really. So that's really all I've got painted. I've got the water tower here that I got from Paul over at Sabotaged. I've not yet painted this. It's going to get finished. It's been undercoated, and I just want to do the weathering and things on it, so that is not going to take very long. The other thing is I've got the French still on the table. I haven't done anything with them yet as well for a while. They've been there for about a week. I really should just get on and crack on with them. In other in other news, I've taken the next 2 weeks off because I had a lot of time off in lieu built up from working at Otterburn, so I've just basically taken off 2 weeks as a block. So I will get these French finished at some point, probably this week. I'll just sit down and paint them one morning. They won't take a huge amount of time. But also as well, I've been talking with Richard Hogg, one friend of the channel. He sent me loads of 3D printed stuff in the past. You may have seen it again in some of the other hobby reports, but he agreed stupidly on his part to make design and make some of the black and white houses in Singapore. Again, some of the colonial houses, very specific kind of houses. They're like the London 1930s houses, but without chimneys basically, bigger windows, bigger doors, and they are very specific to Singapore and again other colonial powers, so you know these things will be around. He's currently, as I record this, printing the tester one at the moment. He sent a few pictures through for me. I'm not going to show them here, but I know that they're on the way, and I'm very excited about seeing him. He's done a lot of work, so thank you, Richard, if you are watching. Very, very much appreciated. And also as well, speaking of Singapore, I realise that all my figures for Singapore, the British ones in particular, are all not individually based. They're all based for rapid fire. I've got a few bits and pieces here and there. They're all mostly based for rapid fire. So I just bought a set, basically a platoon's worth of figures from Peter Pig. Obviously I only bought these yesterday, so these won't arrive until next week sometime. I'm going to try to hammer them out and paint them. I don't know if I've got enough time to do it, and hopefully I'm going to try to get them done ASAP. They shouldn't take long because it's only about 40 men for the platoon, but I just wanted a completely chain of command style platoon for Singapore of British soldiers, and that's kind of what I'm trying to work on there. So I probably really should have ordered them a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't think about it until I was rereading the book. I mean, my plan was, whilst I was on holiday, was to record the Malayan, the Singapore games, the little campaign. Whether that will happen now or not is a different matter, depending on whether I use the multi-based British or the individual based ones, but I still want them individually based anyway for games in future, so it's no loss, and for about 30 quid you can't really complain. So this week as well has also seen me, I took Iron Beat Shot Mum down to the club once again. This time I had 4 new players, so it was Terry and Alex and Steve and Chris. Chris was new to the club, it was his first time to come down, he only works close by, so he came across. And Steve, it was his second time down to the club as well. He'd played Dave's ACW game last week. But Terry and Alex are old lags of the club, and it was, I just gave them the North of Cannes setup, so it was the basic setup in the book. It was a basic introduction, British attack on German held crossroads. Terry's platoon advanced through the cornfields, then got basically stuck in front of Steve's MG42 and his platoon as well, so it basically held it up. However, it was a pretty good tactical decision on the British part, because Chris managed to get his 2 platoons onto the flank and then basically isolate Alex's platoon and crush them with a couple of well-timed bayonet charges. By that point, Steve was then at this point falling back towards the crossroads, back towards where their defensive line should have been, but it was over. The British had already streamed round the crossroads and they were just cutting off their escape. We just said the game over, it's a British victory, and everybody enjoyed it. Everyone really enjoyed it, which is the main thing. We had loads of laughs, everybody was laughing and all that. Later on today, Dean is going to come over and we are going to be playing another game of Iron Beat Shot Mum. Everything's gone up Iron Beat Shot Mum at the moment. I don't really know why, it just seems to be that way. These things happen because Dean wants to do Operation Compass at some point. He's been wanting to do it for rapid fire for a million years, but I think, Iron Beat Shot Mum's going to be a much better version of the game for it. So he's got all the forces, he's just painting a few things up, but we're not going to be playing that. We're going to be playing the second scenario, Cherbourg, in the book. This is basically an American attack and again a German held position, June of '44. And Dean is going to take the Americans, I'll take the Germans. I'll get that set up. It's already set up, so it's ready to go. I'm just waiting for him to come, and we are going to film the game, so that will be released at some point in the future. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, once it's all been edited and everything, so it's going to be a live, a 2-player game of Iron Beat Shot Mum. So something to look forward to, I think, and I'm looking forward to it as well. In other gaming news, also on Friday night, Joe Bilton of Heroic Maps fame invited myself and Tom and Jeff. Tom is the guy who made the cornfields for me a while ago, and Jeff, one of the guys, we follow each other on Twitter. He invited us over to play, he invited us to play via online a game of Dungeons and Dragons. It was the first game of the campaign of, I can't remember the name of it, Fallon, I don't know, something, the Caves of something. Apparently it's a classic D&D campaign, and it's like the basic one that you get with the book. I'll put the title of the name of it here in the thing. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. And it was great fun. Friday night we started about 8:30, finished up by about 11:45, I think it was. So it was about 3.5 hours. We had a few breaks, obviously, in between all that. I filmed it as well. I managed to get it filmed. I filmed it through OBS. Unfortunately, the first half of it, there's a slight echo because I was just using my microphone, so it was picking up the sound off the computer as well when it was recording. The second half of it, I realised, and I switched to my headphones, so there's no issues with the sound on that particular part of it. So, I'm going to get that. It's already edited and waiting to be released, and that will come out on Wednesday morning. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I mean, I'm not a big fan of D&D, but it was a great laugh, and it was it's just good fun, having fun with a few mates, and we had, again, lots of laughs really. You'll see how it goes when the video is released. It's something. It's a game that I wouldn't play every week, but it's certainly a game that I'll be happy to sit down and play if a chance came up. It's just good fun. So I mentioned it in passing last week that I've got something exciting on the horizon, and I certainly have. Next week there won't be a hobby update, simply because next Sunday I'm going to be on the battlefield at Waterloo, and I absolutely cannot wait. I'm going across with a couple of mates of mine, Dave Kenyon and Mark Richards, both of the I think the Huntington or the Milton Keynes Wargaming Societies. I've known Dave Kenyon for years, and I know Mark through Dave. But yeah, we decided, we were talking about it at Partisan, that we should really go across to Waterloo. I've never been. I'm absolutely looking forward to it completely, and I'm going to be taking this camera, so I'm going to get a lot of footage, and I will splice that together into a battlefield tour video as well. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it yet, whether it's going to have any much talking, or if it's going to be just images of the battlefield and that kind of thing. I don't know yet. We'll see how we go. So that's the plan. Heading off on Thursday. I'll actually be back on Sunday, but we'll be. I'll not be anywhere in any position to record any updates or anything. So it'll be the week after, but I'll fill you in completely on that when I do get back. And I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I don't know how much of the battles outside of Waterloo itself we'll see. I've requested if we can get to Quatre Bras. I would like to get to Wavre and Ligny as well, but again, their wish list stuff. I mean, the funny thing is, I've been interested in the Waterloo campaign ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, but I've never been, despite the fact that I've been to Belgium so many times and dug Belgian archaeology, First World War archaeology for years, in the early 2000s at least, and more recently, and I've just never made the trip down to Waterloo. So, and I was going to go, but it fell through because COVID hit. I was literally going to, just spend 3 days and go out and have a look around the battlefield myself. But yeah, as I say, COVID hit, so that's where we're at. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, because as I say, that's exciting news for me. Maybe not so much for you, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait. And I shall leave it to that and say thank you for watching. If you want to help the channel out, check out the Patreon, check out channel membership. All the money goes back into making videos and trying to make them better for you. And also, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel, because it all helps as well. Oh, one last thing as well. I noticed as well the channel had hit over 2 million views just the other day, just before I go. So once again, thanks massively for it. It's a huge step up. That thank you very much for everybody who does watch the channel, and those who do subscribe. And if you don't, do subscribe, because it helps my channel grow even more. And I will see you in the next, not next week, but the week after, hobby update.